It's also an extra callback. I'm glad you say it's an extra callback because good question. Not only it's an ordeal call callback because technically ordeal call is an extra call callback. We now have extra news. So if you guys do not know, we finally got new information, an additional Fate Extra record panel. A full remake is on its way, and we got ourselves an interview with the man himself, the legendary. And I will be translating this very soon. When I say very soon, I mean after I drink this coffee. Let us begin. So if you guys don't know, Fate Extra Record technically started from 2010, 14 years ago. This is the remake version of that, right? In the spiritronic electronic world, right? The spiritron phenomenal world called Seraph. If you don't know what that is, right? The se.ra.ph. Playing the event of FGO CCC collab event. Definitely will give you more information on that. So highly recommend to do so. Making the Seraph as the stage. Many objectively holden people tries to survive the Moon Holy Grail War as they challenge through for survival. It says, for a long time, there wasn't additional news. Finally. In July 22nd, original version 14th year anniversary, and now officially at August 4th, FGO Expo Fate Grand Order Festival 2024 9 anniversary, we finally got to see a new promotional video within 2 years. Because if you don't know, back in the day, we knew this was coming, right? We knew this was coming. We got a couple teasers, but for 2 years, they have been radio silent. But on FGO anniversary, we finally got a full trailer, which I can probably show it to you. But at the same time, I'm gonna have to mute it because I'll probably get copyright striked. I'll probably show you the video later because I don't want to get copyright strike. And that promotional video, right? その BD からは本来よりいよいよ完成に回って仕上がりつつあると感じられる。So it says from that PV, you can definitely see the finishing product comes into fruition to a ready ship notion. This time, we will be interviewing the directing and the producer, right? The planner slash producer and director of Type Moon Studio BB, Nino Kazuya. We're going to be having a male interview of sort, explaining and talking about the new PV and showing you the charms of the game. So if you guys don't know, Fate Extra Record is coming on Steam. It is recorded to come at PC, aka Steam, in 2025. Very cute. Pictures all around. So, a little bit of quick notion. There's 3 contractable servants. Picture we taken was a caster, right? We got Saber, Archer, and Caster. 3 servants. They'll give you a quick profile, right? So Archer, aka, you might know who he is, and depending on how they're going to treat him, it is interesting that we don't get to see a lot of Archer. Technically, he's no name, right? AKA nameless, but who knows? It says he's a very refined gentleman of a warrior, constantly silent. Yeah, silent attitude towards the master, but still cares for them. While he is an archer class, not only will he use his bows, he uses different types of weaponry and has techniques all on his own. He has capability of attacking multiple times, and then you can expect your enemies to be sundered. Going to Seba, covering herself in a crimson red and wearing a male-like clothing. Wait, what? このように身を包んだ男子の美形。Yeah, it is interesting because it specifically says a beauty that wears a. It's weird that this is a male's clothing, right? Because you can see the butt. But essentially, yeah, essentially it is saying that clothing covered in crimson all around. A very beautiful person. From its wording, it tells you that it is noble, yet still have some childish demeanor. She's decent size, aka she's a bit short. She uses her blade class, aka saber class, as elegantly as her swordplay be. And last but not least, the armament in blue. Armament in blue. She looks half a beast, an exotic looking spellcaster. She has a personality that could be poisonous, but when it comes to Master's command, she is perfectly on the dot, and she will follow it to a T. Yeah, when it comes to combat, normal combat capability, she's on the low side. However, whenever it comes to magic attack capabilities and her intelligence, wait, Majutsu ni yoru. Yeah, so it's essentially saying she's not a good melee class, but when it comes to magic, magic battles, and intellectually integrated character, it is a class of so. Yeah, for a master to quote unquote utilize her, it does take a bit of certain practice. And back in the day, it went that there's no difficulty in this game, right? Like Dark Souls style. But depending on the character you picked, your early game, mid game changed drastically because of how annoying things got, right? So, like for instance, Saber's easy mode, Archer is medium, yeah, wasn't it Saber, Archer, Caster, or was it Archer? No, it should be Saber, Archer, and Caster. Because Tamamo in the early game, her output was on the downside. She literally did any damage. Like you see 15 on your Saber here, chat. You see how it says damage 15 on the characters here? In Tamamo's case, pretend all of that to be 5, right? Because she was just not a melee character. She excelled in magic, but her magic just it took so much. It took so much for Caster to use magic, so you needed to just get so much mana and so much intellect. It was wild. But anyway, interview with Mr. Kazuya Nino. 監督を務める二能和也さんに務めるタイプスタジオ BB スタジオディレクターでも一緒にあるfrom here on out gonna be called Nino 2の新たな PV を踏みつまつつ気になるところをメールで質問。So it's essentially this is a mail interview. So he emailed it and then the answer came back. So this is not a face-to-face interview, but this is an email interview. So it's time to get our answer. Let's start reading, chat. The interviewer has asked, from 2022, a new trailer has arrived. It's been 2 years since the last trailer, sir. We finally got the good news. Until today, 本作の開発にかなり試練、yeah. Until today, I definitely sincerely feel like you had trials and tribulations in order for your productions to come this far. So Mr. Nino, right, the director, from here on out, I'm going to say Nino. He is the interview that's answering this question. He specifically says, it took a long time, development time. It really did. This was my very first remake. This is my remake of my, this is my very first remake. So I was thinking of what we should have changed and what we should not change. And those definitely took quite the abundance of timing when I was struggling. Simultaneously, this game was 14 years old. In order to remake it, we needed to make sure that the game system was started from scratch as well. Most of it was that. So he's specifically saying, そもそもゲームシステムをして作り直す分がほとんどでした. So most of the effort came in to create an entirely new game. Because an entirely new system because it was 14 years old. So the interviewer asked, what did you change? What did you not change? Specifically, if we can get any information. It says, first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that the players who played those kind of games, we wanted to retain their memory and not shatter them at all. And so when it comes to scenario-wise, we are definitely diligent to it. We wanted to make sure, シナリオ扱いには常に重要してます. So he definitely didn't want to shatter the recreation of the scenario. So he took efforts and time to preserve scenario as Fate Extra was back in the day. Essentially what he's saying. これはフェイトエクストラの名を管理した別作品ではなく、フェイトエクストラそのもののリメイクなのだという気持ちで開発しています。He says, we wanted to make sure that this was not a different type of video game that named Fate Extra, but we wanted to make sure that this was a game that is a Fate Extra remake, the entire game itself being remade. That is the mentality and the thought process we all have developing this game. The very important ストーリーの大筋、特徴なセリフのやりとり、キャラクターの感情などを至らずに変えず、かつ遊んだ時の原作よりも満喫度や込みを感じられるように工夫しています。So it says the importance of the story dynamics, specific lines that's being told, characters' feelings and emotions. We did our very best to not change those, but making it so that it's more in depth and more fulfilling than the last time. That is the way we are adjusting it to. Currently, in our current 実際のところ原作は今プレイすると結構ボリューム感がなくてあっさりしているので物足りない部分に付け足や炎症強化をたくさん入れています。So it says currently the OG, right? Currently the story-wise, if you go play it, there's not a lot of volume. There's not a lot of volume that we thought there were, so it feels a bit lackluster. So, in order to not feel lackluster, we've definitely taken more strengthening into showing visuals and strengthening the visuals of everything and doing our best. So essentially right here in the line says, if you play the game, you don't feel you don't feel like there's a lot of volumes to it, but the places that it kind of lackluster, they're going to strengthen it by making animations a lot more crispier and more a lot more awesome. 原作ではあっさりとした感じだったアリーナ AKA ダンジョンは往復に手を入れましたよ。全部が全部とは言えないのですが、結構盛りだくさんになっています。ここは原作プレイヤーでもかなり新しい気持ちで楽しんでいけるのではないかと思います。So in the end, last but not least, he says, in the original, right, the arena, aka dungeon, we definitely added additional things to it. I'm not going to be able to tell everything for every down to detail, but please understand that we've added a lot of things. To be perfectly honest, those who played it, even the OG, will probably feel refreshed and feels anew enjoying this functionality. I do hope. So, if you guys don't know, there is like fucking sliding mechanics and shit, which is kind of cool. There was like teleporting mechanics back in the day, but now you can like slide things, which is cool. So essentially, they're saying that they've added an additional cool features to the game that the OG players might actually enjoy as well, which is awesome. Is there any way to tell us game system? Where did you remake them? Please do tell us. ほとんどっていうか全て作り直しました。Oh, damn, he didn't even fucking hide that. He says most of it. To be perfectly honest, we remade them. We remade everything from scratch. So he's essentially said game system, completely new. Completely new and remade it from scratch. モダンな遊び心にしないと不便で遊ぶ気分がしないゲームになってしまいますので、25年に発売する足だるモダンな RPG として原作のことは一旦忘れてゼロから作り直しましたよ。今回のリメイクに関しては、古き良きみたいな感じを作り、古き良きみたいな感じの作り方はしていません。Oh, interesting. So yeah, we got the interviewer asked what kind of game systems, where did you fix them, and the person specifically says, hey, we practically remade everything from scratch. We had to make sure that the playstyle is more modernized to the modern obvious because it will be a game that will be very inconvenient and unplayable in this current day of age. We wanted to make sure that it is a RPG that is modern since we are selling it in 2025. We wanted to make sure that that specific part of gameplay, we wanted to kind of forget about the OG factors and start it from zero and scratched it from zero and remade it. This remake specifically, we did not have oldie system is a goodie system. We didn't have that mindset and made the game style. So if you guys don't know, the game system, right? The game system low-key was ass back in the day. Back in the day, the game system was rock, paper, scissors, RNG. It was rough. Simultaneously, it was a little difficult to farm in that game because you have to be efficient at it. So the developer specifically said, hey, we game system started from scratch, modernized it to make sure that it fits the modern 2025 RPG style. We didn't say we exactly went back to the OG gameplay style and made one-to-one, right? They said they threw that thought process out the window. FGO をきっかけにフェイトを知ったもので、フェイトエクストラを遊んだことないという方も多くいます。そういった初心者の方々に向けたチュートリアルのご用意はされていますか? The interviewer asks a good question. He says, by using FGO, people can start learning Fate. And by learning Fate, they might learn about the concept of Fate Extra. And those who do not play, who have not played Fate Extra, there's going to be a lot of them, sir. Is there a tutorial for them or for new players to go down this path? Have you prepared any of those? And the developer specifically says, you are quite correct. When we started the Fate Extra project, there was not a lot of Fate. Fate Extra Kaiji. Oh, you're quite correct. When Fate Extra, the OG, started, there was not a lot of Fate spin offs. So, Fate Extra was definitely towards the core audience of the OG fans. It was one of those, if you don't know, you should look it up. And please do the original. Please do the original. That's taken the spin-off from. Was kind of the ordeal. However, recently using FGO, uh, using FGO, going into the world of Kinoko, aka Nasu, right? Going to the world of Nasu and Fate, and those people who've contacted. There's many more than ever before. So for any newbies, for any beginners, and for those who are going to touch the world for the very first time, we wanted to make sure that the world settings, the world view, to an extended amount, it was understandable and really easy to explain. We've adjusted so it is understandable for any newcomers. And we made it so that even we can use Fate Extra as a very gateway to enter and welcome any new players to the world of Fate. That is the feeling we use to make this remake. So to TLDR, he says, back in the day, OG Fate Extra, there was not a lot of Fate spin-off. So when the quote-unquote anybody asks questions, the core fans and other people will be like, oh, you don't know? Check FGO. Check Fate Stay Night, right? Check Fate Stay Night, check Hollow Ataraxia, etc., right? That was back then. However, recently, right, throughout these few years, using FGO to touch Fate or touch Nasu's world, aka Type Moon World. There's a lot of places that where you can now officially interact the Nasu world, including Fate. And so we want to make sure that newer players, the very first time interacting with Fate, they can understand the worldview and the settings. And he specifically says a very strong statement right here. He says he wants to use Fate Stay Extra Remake. He wants to make it so good that a newer person can buy the record, Fate Stay Extra record, and use it as one of the gateways to introduce the world of Fate. That is his motivation to create Fate Extra record, which is pretty cool. And so the interviewer hits him with a jab, right? So the interviewer asks, "Can you tell me more elaborately about how you did that?"細かいことではありますが、原作では気にドバッと説明したところを2、3回のイベントの分析した段階を追うようにしたり、ストーリーの中でさらっと触れていた世界観を NPC たちが聞くことで、意見や任意を掘り下げられるようにしました。また、フェイトエクストラの世界観を深めるために新キャラも用意しています。Yeah, by the way, there is a new fucking character. Are you gonna show that? No, he won't. Yeah, there is a mystery character. Is she an exposition dump character? I wonder. In actuality, she can be a record keeper. Oh, and that's why it looks like Proto Berlin. Oh, she could definitely be a record keeper. That'd be lit. So if you guys don't know what Yeah, what I just explained and what I kind of just talked to myself. Currently, there is a completely new character that exists in Fate Extra Record that currently no FGO, no Fate fans, no Fate fan extra knows because it is an original character. And essentially, going back to the interview, sorry, the interviewer questions to him, can you explain to me how you prepared for the newer players so they can, you know, uh, envelop themselves in the worldview and the settings of FGO? I mean, Fate Extra, excuse me. He answers, "This is going to be this is going to get bit detailed. However, in the original, in the original, um, a lot of the explanations gets thrown at you in an instant. And so it required you to do 2 to 3 different events, and it's been separated in levels, and you chase those and start to understand the world. And while in story, you get to you get to touch to NPCs, and by touching the NPCs and interacting with them, you get to see the worldview of this location, and more lore can be heard and seen and expressed through a lot of the NPCs. That was the OG. And then he specifically says in Fate Extra Record, right? In order to deepen the worldview, we prepared a new character. 彼らはあまり大筋に触れず、聖杯戦争の雰囲気や世界観を深めたりするために登場させています。フェイトシリーズは初めてという方もマスター気分が味わえるように調整できているかなと思っています。It says these, so there's more than one new characters, right? Because he used the word they, or it's a pronoun they. We don't know. But the terminology he has explained is more than one. So there's multiple new characters. It says they will not touch the main story. They are there to ensure the vibe, right? Ensure the vibe and the atmosphere of the Holy Grail War, to deepen the world view. They're kind of there as that. And for those people who are new to Fate, you can still feel how Master feels. We've adjusted it so you can understand how Master feels during the world of Fate. So for newer players, these new characters might be used as a perspective of like how you feel as a master in the Holy Grail War, right? So, um, I think there's gonna be like purpose scenes that you might lose to, right? Like I think there's like a scripted defeat scenes, so you can get erased by like Shinji or something, but like you but you use those masters to try to feel like a master who lost, or like their feeling of devotion, right, etc., etc. I think that's what they're hinting at. I don't know for sure, but essentially, they're new characters. The new characters are used to deepen the worldview of Fate extra, specifically, on top of how it feels to be a master. ハードが PSP から現行機に変わったことで、オリジナル版と比べると、実際実現できることが大丈夫に増えたと思います。実はオリジナルの時から思い出の書いているけど、ハードの節約で諦めていて、今回現実できたという説はありますか？あんまりないかな。フェイトエクストラはそれほどハード性能をしようとする作りのゲームにはしていないので、あまり思い当たらないですね。もちろん、ハード性能が上がったことによって、液晶版各自性能がかなり上がって、その性能に釣り合うためのグルやスイッチャーの細かく大きくアップさせる必要がありました。 その結果、当時のストーリーの展開や演出にユニークになって成立しなくなったりして、うわ、そこは大変、そこは本当に大変でした。そうだ、ハードの性能の関係で一つだけありましたよ。協会や大会の会場にたくさんの参加者が表示できるようになったので、そこはだいぶ雰囲気が良くなったかもしれません。至るところに参加者がいる感じになりました。Oh, interesting. Okay. So the interviewer specifically asked, with modernizing device from PSP to a modernizing device now, comparing to the original product, I would like to talk about the expressions, how it looks and feels. Was there any resources, circumstances that now, looking over, due to hardware issues or during back in the day, they were thinking about it was not available? Can you give us anything of that sort? Meaning the interviewer is asking, was there any additional things added to it now that the hardware has completely skyrocketed, right? AKA upgraded. Is there scenarios and things that you have upgraded now that the game is in a better hardware? He answers at first, not too much, to be perfectly honest with you. We made sure that Fate Extra, yeah, we made sure that the Fate Extra didn't require super hard hardware or hard mechanic. So I don't have a lot on my mind in that capability. However, due to the hardware, so he's saying that there's not a lot of hardware intensity required in Fate Extra because they remade the game not to make it too intense on the hardware. But due to the hardware upgrades, pictures, animations, and fonts and looks and efforts and sound effects, all these kind of things. In order to make that happen, the artwork, the depiction, the animations detail, we definitely needed to level it up to the extreme. As a result, その結果、当時のストーリーの展開や演出がより草になって成立しなくなったというところは大変でした。So they were specifically saying, as a result, there were certain parts of the story, the animation was it it like it was so good, right? They upgraded the animations and details and arts and whatnot. They had a problem when animations and showing motions it didn't work out so well, right? They had a rough time trying to reconnect things together because there were some faults and unfortunate circumstances that occurred because of a intensive image upgrades and imagery upgrades and animation updates. And so he had struggled there. And then he goes, "Oh, I remember. When it comes to hardware issues, I figured out one positive one." It says now that the classroom and the arena, we can now utilize a lot of the participants as participants. Essentially, you can now see the audience when you're having like the tournament. During tournaments and classrooms, there's a lot more visual towards the participants in the audience. So it says, yeah, you'll definitely feel more people exist around places now. キャラクターモデルのクオリティも大きくアップしていますが、キャラクター表現に関して特にこだわっていることを教えてください。So the interviewer specifically asked, right? Hey, I see character model's quality has tremendously increased. Can you tell us about the character's expression and what specifics you honed in on? 基本的に 今風の表情でフェイトエクストラを描くという重要視の絵を作っています。フェイトエクストラの世界観を今表現するとなら、と和田アルコさんと相談し、シャープでクールな感じのアニメテイストにしようと決めました。和田アルコさんのバランス感は残しつつ、すべてのキャラクターははっきりとしたアニメタッチのデザインにリメイクをしました。それに合ってて、キャラクターデザインを一部変えたキャラクターもいたりしますよ。本格的な印象は変えていないつもりなので、その違いを楽しんでもらえたら嬉しいです。So it says, basically, we made sure that the expression of the OG Fate Extra, drawn in the way they need to, and their essence, right? They've honed in on that. So you ask a question. Ask yourself, when it comes to what is a Fate Extra worldview, how do you express it? Me and Miss Wada Arco, we conversated for this a bit, and we came up with the idea of sharp and cool anime-like tasteful style. Miss Wada Arco, yeah, Wada Arco-san no, yeah, maintaining the artistic detail of Wada Arco's design, we made sure that all the characters were strain, plain, anime-like touch added to their each individual design and remade them. On top of that, because of this, there is a partial character design changes to certain characters. We never really changed the actual impression of them, so I hope you enjoy some of the minor changes that we provide in the show. So essentially, in the game, they said they wanted to maintain Wada Arco's game style, but they also wanted to make it more anime, right? They wanted to make it more anime. They wanted to make it sharp and cool. There are some characters that did get a minor character redesign because they changed things here and there. And when you see it, you hope you enjoy the minor changes. They're like, oh, instead of like how Tokisaka's clothing and pants, I believe, is backwards now, something like that, right? And they're just like, I hope you enjoy those. PV にはバトル中のシーンも加えていますが、2020年の時は UI が大きく変わったようですね。カードバトルのような UI に変わっていますが、この形にした理由は、最新のモデンなRPG のバトルにしたいと考えて、その中でキャジュアルプレイの戦術を楽しむカードゲーム式を作ってみようと決めました。サーベントごとに個性をやりつけた決め手です。最近カードゲームのプレイして人もだいぶ増えたと感じているので、遊んでもらOh yeah, I'm so glad that he doesn't mention it, but he does mention it, right? Smart man. The man is a director of Type Moon for a reason. We're almost done. So, the interviewer asked, from the newest promotional videos, sir, we've seen a lot of scenes that is like currently in a battle sequence. It is completely different from the 2022 PV, and UI has tremendously changed. The battle style is now card. Can you explain to us about the UI turning into a card battle style and why you made it as such? The director answers. We wanted to make a RPG battle that is more modern and new. 最新のモデルな RPG バトルをしたいと考えて Yeah, we wanted to make it the newest modern RPG battle style. We thought that process in the first place. And so we also wanted to make sure within this game, we wanted to make sure that it's a casual, strategic, enjoyable card game style is what we've all decided with. And it's easy to come up with a personalized cards and personalities for each servant card. And recently, there's a lot of people that plays a card game type video games. So I think by changing it to this notion it might be easier to play for the modern audience. We definitely had the feeling of, will this kill the original product or will it make it live a new life? We had quite the heartthrob making this decision. But we made it so that the master and servant's strategic synergy is enjoyable and made it so that it is possible. I believe we were able to pull off a feeling of, what will you do, master? And it says we are still adjusting, and yeah, we are still adjusting and talking about it to this day, but we made sure that individual playstyle of individual servant is completely different. We made it so that comparing to the OG, the servant's playstyle will be completely different, so it's definitely worth playing a round or two, is our current goal. So essentially, they're saying that um, there was not a lot of minor, right? Like, so essentially, the director says, "Hey, we made three different playstyles for them. If you are interested," which is pretty cool. Which is good news. Because while Extra, the OG, technically had three different playstyles, it was more like status were adjusted instead of the playstyle being adjusted, right? So like Tamamo, you had a slow game at first, but as long as you put intelligence and mana, your spellcasting started to one shot everything in their mom. Narrow and Nameless, you just kind of had to level up their main attribute and then you can call it a day, right? But they're specifically saying, hey, we made it so that three people have three different play styles. So we hope you play different rounds with different characters to enjoy the story. Last but not least, sir, it says, please give a heartfelt word for people who are anticipating the Fate Extra record. So it says, first and foremost, thank you very much. 最初の発表からずっと待ってくださる皆さんに、it says, we sincerely want to apologize and thank you so much for those people that who have been waiting for so long ever since the first news. It took way longer than our original timeline. There are some people online tweeting, has the development been canceled? I really want to, yeah, we sincerely want to apologize for making you all worry. 先日公開した PV でお見せしましたように、ちゃんと作っていますし、it says, as you saw the PV that you've seen before, we are working diligently. And we are constantly adjusting and making the gameplay style that is enjoyable and fulfilling for all of you to have fun. We want to make it so that the wait was worth the while and deliver the game that you've all been waiting for. And those people who've recently learned about Fate Extra, we want to make sure that this game that will come out in 2025, this anime type scenario RPG game that is fun. And we want to make sure that the original scenario of Fate Extra has come back, more powered up and enjoyable game entertainment is currently in development. So, we sincerely hope that you have your excitement together, and please do wait with patience. Will be greatly appreciated. When we talked about the remake, the conversation with the person, the Nasu person himself specifically said there is no remake of a remake, so you better go all out here and now, okay? And that was the first thing I was told. Starting this project, getting those, hearing those words and etched it into my heart. I am going to go all out. And we are currently running with the development staff as a team and as a whole for the final last lap. So, in order to provide you all at 2025, we sincerely hope we'll be doing our best to bring you this amazing game out for you. So essentially, the guy says, "My B, shit took a lot longer than we anticipated. A lot of people started thinking that it got canceled, but no. As you saw in the PV, we cooking. We made sure that it's playable, enjoyable, and fun. And we're hoping that this Fate Extra is utilized as the gateway to the world of Fate. And simultaneously, we're doing our very best to power up the OG scenario." And from when I talked to Mr. Nasu, Nasu specifically said, "Hey, listen, there's no remake of this remake, so go full out, right? Full lock in." Nasu said, "There's not going to be a remake of this remake, so you better lock in." And he has that word in his heart, and he's ready to go all out and lock in. So they're saying that we hope sincerely that you be patient. And they're doing their very best to get that finished product ready in 2025. And that, my friends, concludes the Fate Extra interview.